I just
Oh,
saw it
numbers.
first. She's not
Oh.
related, so.
But it is in the right place.
Oh, okay.
It's actually on motion.
Well, I will call this meeting to order. Aitzquil, I'm not CA. Aitzqualawan, Kwanaselam. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the lands of the Hulkaminam speaking people, specifically the Kwanasu village. The Board of Education is honored to be able to collaboratively walk beside the Cowichan, Malahat, Sabasset, Halal, Penelakut, Stamanis, and Malaxan peoples who have cared for this land for thousands of years. May we walk gently on the unceded territories of their lands as we work together to lift up all the ha-hasmanam. Motion to adopt the agenda, please. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? Thank you. Minutes from the February 3rd, 2026 open board meeting, moved by Trustee Strachan, seconded by Trustee Doman. All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of the consent agenda, moved by Trustee Luise, seconded by Trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Thank you. Recognitions and delegations.
We have two new exempt staff to update everybody on. So we're going to welcome Vicki Miller as the new custodial manager who's joined us in the welcome to the exempt staff team. And Vicki has 28 years of experience with the school district, has always worked for betterment of the system, and I know we'll be able to continue on improving things for all of our custodial in our schools with the school district. So
Thank you, Vicki.
thank you for joining us. And then we're also recognizing Michelle Hain, who's joining us to replace Claire in her retirement. Now, Claire and I were trying to figure out how many meetings she's recorded today in 7.5 years, and we know we got well above 500. So we just know we're going to miss you, Claire. This is your last official double-decker board meeting with closed and open, and then Michelle will be taking over and is currently transitioning into that role. So we welcome Michelle and we wish Claire a happy retirement, although she will be staying on with the IEC, the Indigenous Education Council, as the secretariat, and so we will see her monthly, and I'm happy about that. Claire, and welcome, Michelle.
Mr. Sackquist, report of the closed meeting.
Thank you. We met in closed. Prior to this session, the board did not conclude its agenda, so we will be going back into closed session immediately following open. The items that were achieved were related to personnel, partnership agreements, and facility matters. And I want to pass over to the board chair, who's going to discuss one of the partnership agreements.
I have a media release. School District 79 announces strategic relocation and facilities optimization plan for trades and careers programs. Cowichan Valley School District SD 79 is announcing a comprehensive plan to relocate and optimize district trades programs beginning fall of 2026. On June 4th, 2025, Vancouver Island University announced the relocation of several trades programs from the Cowichan campus to the Nanaimo campus. In response, the Cowichan Valley Board of Education worked collaboratively with VIU to preserve and expand local access to trades training. As a result, SD 79 will not only maintain existing dual credit opportunities, but will expand to include electrical through coordinated delivery between Cowichan and Nanaimo. The Board of Education has a long history of collaboration with Vancouver Island University. This renewed strategy allows students in the Cowichan Valley to continue accessing dual credit trades programs in hairdressing, carpentry, and electrical. This partnership ensures SD 79 students gain university experience within their home community while accessing specialized learning environments only available at VIU. Hairdressing, launching September of 2026, learning will be split up between VIU Duncan and VIU Nanaimo Hair and Aesthetic Studio. Carpentry, launching February 2027, delivered jointly at VIU Duncan and at Cowichan Secondary School. Electrical will be launching September 2027, delivered at VIU Duncan, Cowichan Secondary, and VIU Nanaimo to access specialized electrical training racks. Thank you. action list.
I'll take the agenda there.
Pardon me?
This one on the agenda.
Action list, Mr. Davy. Still in progress?
Still in progress, information coming out this evening.
Excellent, thank you very much.
That's all right. I think Superintendent was going to speak about the consultation on Mill Bay Nature School. Or do you want to do it in the superintendent's report?
I can do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. And I'll just acknowledge that we have Principal Allison Leslie from Mill Bay Nature School here. Through you, Chair, just sharing with you information that we received through Principal Leslie in regards to the request for information from parents and their request to have the name change. As you can see, a total of 62 respondents on the survey, and I'm assuming that that represents the majority of families. Support for the name change, 80.3%. Opposed, 19%. Summary of findings, as you can read here. Perceived misalignment with the current programs. You can see some of the comments that were made by caregivers and family members there. Second point, community confusion around what does the school represent. Third one here, desire to mark a transition, and you can see again further comments there. Number 4 then, reasons for maintaining the current name, 19%, and you can see responses that were given here. And I'll move on to the 5th point, suggestions regarding a new name. Several respondents offered name suggestions, Mill Bay Elementary and others requested. Follow-up survey with proposed name options for members of the school community and community involvement in the nomination and selection process. And again, thank you to the PAC and to Principal Leslie for submitting this on behalf of the PAC. So bringing this to your attention. Yes.
And I think there's one more consultation to occur. That's with Malahat Nation before coming back to the board for a decision.
Correct.
Questions? Trustee Croft.
I just wanted to reiterate our thanks to the PAC for flagging this for us and initiating a process that clearly so suits our community and their community and their school.
Any questions? Hearing none? Go. Superintendent of the schools, 8.1.1, please.
Personnel, just letting the board know that the principal, vice principal transfer process for 26-27 is underway. It began back in February with the submission of succession planning documents on behalf of principals and vice principals, as well as looking at needs that we will have with announcements for retirements around schools. So that process is underway, and I will be having conversations through the next week and a half here with principals and vice principals with the intention of having most potential transfers finalized by early April. As well, the principal and vice principal pool is open, and we have interviews scheduled for next week for potential candidates for the principal and vice principal pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Board information 8.2.1, please.
Okay. Moving on then with board information through you, Chair. I welcome for presentation this evening here Nicole Boucher, District Principal for Priority Learners, who will be sharing on place-based outdoor pursuits. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, everyone. Take me to see it. Right, spoil see it, yeah. I feel like it's my weekly cameo at the board. So I presented, I believe it was back in November, with an initial presentation about a place-based learning program that would see its inception in September of 2025-26. So I'm here back today for 26-27 school year rather. So I'm here to talk to you I think, one final time with kind of a recap of the highlights of the program, sharing a bit more information, taking questions, and then moving on hopefully to some next steps. So just ahead of starting, actually, I might give a quick plug just for your own interest. These are students from our classroom at House of Friendship that we started this year. So these are students getting some time outside with their teacher and their teacher's puppy, and kids who have re-engaged and come back to our system and are experiencing some success at school. Kind of fun. So there was great debate about an hour and a half ago next door, because I was sharing with some colleagues that my slides had a lot of content, and it's really boring when someone just reads the slides, and consensus is sometimes you got to read the slides to give the information. And we consulted a book that many of us are reading that will be the cornerstone of our NI Day in April, and it says to combine visual text with verbal explanations is a good strategy. So just as a quick recap, the purpose, so the rationale behind the place-based learning program is to create meaningful community-rooted educational experiences that empower grade 10 to 12 priority learners to thrive academically, socially, and personally. Grounded in the principles of experiential learning, land stewardship, and holistic well-being, the program integrates outdoor pursuits as a primary vehicle for engagement, skill development, and self-discovery. I'll touch on that a little bit more in a moment. This program will recognize that many priority learners benefit from learning environments that extend beyond traditional classroom walls in spaces that honor diverse strengths, lived experiences, and cultural backgrounds. By centering learning on local landscapes, community knowledge keepers, and real-world challenges, the program fosters a sense of belonging and connection to place. Students are encouraged to see themselves as active participants in their environment, understanding how land, community, and personal growth are interconnected. So a lot of connect to our strategic plan, a lot of connection to the goals outlined in the Climate Action Committee. And I discovered today that this is a touch screen, which is very exciting. Oh, yeah, so a little bit more on the rationale side. So talking about outdoor pursuits, and specific to this program right now, we're looking at hiking, paddling, and we're looking at paddling in tribal journey canoes, some navigation and outdoor leadership, which will see students develop their confidence, their resilience, teamwork, and problem-solving skills. And these activities, when we combine it with learning from knowledge keepers, elders, and local professionals, will provide that authentic context for applying academic concepts. And we're looking at environmental science. I'll get subject specific in a moment. Humanities and physical health education. They'll also promote emotional well-being by supporting mental health, reducing stress, and building positive relationships with peers and trusted adults. And I would extend that to community members as well. So the program will aim to uplift priority learners by removing barriers to participation, and will strive to graduate young people who are confident and capable caretakers of the land and feel deeply connected to the place they call home. And when we say graduate students, I think I said before, the ultimate goal is to see these learners graduate with a regular dogwood. All right, so as discussed, who will our students be? So we're looking at 2 semesters, 18 students in the first semester and 18 in the second, for a total of 36 students who can benefit from this program. And they'll be identified by the district principal, aka moi, and the program staff once we have them in place, in consultation with both school-based teams and Indigenous education teams. And priority learners will be the focus, but it may be extended to other students as well. And it will be a combination of students that we know we need to do something different to bring them back to us or draw them back in a meaningful way. And we also know that there's a handful of students in our district that are hands-on, they're tactile, they need that movement, they need that engagement in a different setting and that outdoor space. And we already do have a real good sense of who a lot of these students are as we move through schools and have conversations with our learners on a pretty regular basis. And in terms of credit, we thought we would take a look at credits that all students need to be successful in the grad program, and courses that can be delivered at the same time by the teacher who's running the program. So we know that all of our students need English 10, 11, or 12. So regardless of the grade you're in, you can get credit for your English First Peoples. And we can approach multi-grade in a thematic way. We do that all the time in multi-grade classes, and especially in our alternate programs. BC First Peoples 12 satisfies the requirement where students need either a Social Studies 11 or a Social Studies 12, and both of those courses will satisfy their Indigenous component requirement. PHE 10 is required by everybody, so if you're in grade 10, that's a natural fit. And we also will offer PHE with an outdoor education flavor, which is, it's actually called a flavor. So PHE outdoor at 11 or 12. And Environmental Studies 12, which lends itself to watershed studies, which has a great connect back to the strategic plan in the Caring for Place and the climate action framework. And that satisfies your science 11 or 12. The advantage for these students of doing the grade 12 for BC First Peoples and Environmental Studies is when we graduate on the regular grad program or an adult grad, you need 11 or 12, but you also need at least 5 course credits for grade 12 level coursework. So it makes sense. And that Environmental Studies 12 lends itself to watershed studies like 100%. And then we can also offer another credit called Discovering Self in Nature. And we see that happening in several of our outdoor education related courses around the district. All right. So talked a lot about the format in our planning, and I'd like to share a bit of this with you. And there'll be some work to do in terms of making letters of understanding and some logistical pieces that we feel confident that we can work through. But as I said, the program length is 1 semester, so 2 semesters in the year, 2 cohorts. And it's going to be based out of Cowichan Secondary. We found in the past where we're offering programs district-wide, having a central hub is easier for most people to get to, as opposed to saying we're offering it in the south end and expecting students to get there from, say, Chemainus or Lake Cowichan. And students would stay registered at their home school. So if you come from Chemainus or Lake Cowichan or Kelsey and you're part of that program, you're still a part of your home school, and you're meeting every day at that central location. And either if it's classroom-based that day, then they'll have a classroom there, or off they go in a bus to whatever their destination is for that day. So to satisfy non-contact time and lunch breaks for teachers and support worker, because we know that the staff are going to be with the students all day long, we're proposing a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule for our students, and that gives that Wednesday in between for students to have a little bit of a repose if they need it. We thought stacking it 4 days in a row might be a little bit exhausting, but it gives those teachers, support worker, their non-contact time to plan, and it gives them their time in lieu of their lunch breaks that they're missing. And so that's the schedule, and it satisfies the requisite hours for a teacher's schedule. Come on, touchscreen. All right. So we wanted to share a few of the highlights of the program, and these are, like we call it, satellite view highlights. They're not kind of on this specific day we did this great canoeing activity or a particular hike, but those will be major highlights for the students. So maybe I'll just read the bold version, or the bold part here. So highlights include integration of academic learning with land-based experiences, where students will apply concepts from the environmental science, Indigenous knowledge systems, physical health education, and humanities through that hands-on experiential doing outside learning format, development of confidence, resilience, and teamwork, which we touched on in the rationale. So we know that when students try new things and do hard things and take on pieces that are challenging, they really grow and build their personal strength, their collaboration skills, and that healthy risk-taking in a supervised environment. Promotion of well-being and positive relationships, so mental health, emotional regulation, and strong relationships with peers and trusted adults. And I will say, based on experience, relationships with anybody in the community that we end up working with, those relationships are always very positive and strong. Cultivation of stewardship, identity, and leadership, so fostering a strong sense of identity, agency, and responsibility toward not just the land, but also the community. And we're preparing these students to be thoughtful stewards and leaders from an environmental perspective as well. And then support for grade 10 to 12 priority learners. So the program intentionally supports our 10 to 12 priority learners while also welcoming students who wish to align their learning with outdoor pursuits, like I said before, creating a diverse community enriched by a whole bunch of different talents, strengths, gifts, and interests. I'm going to pop back to the last slide for 2 seconds because I knew there was something I wanted to add. On that Wednesday, depending on structures and supports at the homeschools, there is potential for the students to be at their homeschools doing something that will engage them for that day, whether it's picking up a different class in a self-paced format, or maybe doing some reflecting, or if there's project work in the land-based course, they don't have to be at home. They could be at their home schools as well, kind of reconnecting with staff and friends in those environments. So if we're looking at staffing the program, it's pretty simple. We need one teacher, and we need what we're going to call an outdoor learning support worker. And depending on the day, so we're talking about, we'll probably get into more of that conversation when we're looking at budgets, but we're talking about a program that supports or sees students paddling in the fall months and in the spring months in Tribal Journey canoes. So we've talked about acquiring some canoes. So we would need at least one, if not two, additional staff on those days for safety requirements from Paddle Canada and industry standard and our own comfort as a district, and on any overnight trips. We would want more supervision. And the minimum credentials we've landed on for these staff are a Class 4 driver's license, because we would be having them drive a 24-passenger bus, big canoe paddling certifications, and this course is offered in June in the interior, but Victoria Canoe and Kayak will also do it for us on an as-needed basis if we give them a group of individuals, and Wilderness First Aid would get us going at a bare minimum. So if this program is a go, and it's the wish of the board to sort of support it, we'd have a few next steps. We take all of our initiatives and different new programs and things that we do to the Indigenous Education Council for their consideration and their feedback. We would want to consult with community partners, and I mentioned a variety of community partners in my previous presentation, which includes local knowledge keepers and local specialists, includes a host of scientists, our nations. So a variety of kind of consultative pieces to make sure that we're getting everyone's voice to, what do we want to see for our children if they're learning outside, and how do people want to be involved and supportive. And then we would look at we would like to see some dedicated time for planning. So a potential 0.3 FTE that would begin after spring break and see us through to the end of June, so that we can get this off the ground and running properly, mindful, in a really meaningful way, where we feel very confident starting the program with students in September. And then after that, or during that process, we would start looking at enrollment of students, and it would be sort of that process I outlined before, working with the schools, approaching the students, and sometimes, in some cases, students might even approach us. So those are the next steps. So I sort of leave that on the table for your consideration. Jason and I have talked about budget, so he's going to handle that piece, because that's his wheelhouse, not mine. So I'm happy to take questions.
Trustees, questions for Nicole? Trustee Sousa? And then trustees.
Thank you. This is exciting. So good to see it get to this stage. I'm very, very excited about this. A question and a comment. Question around how will it roll out in terms of students, like in terms of their awareness for September, that they know that this program will be there. So question around that, and a comment around the timeliness of this, because if things continue to go well in other contexts, we have a very good there's a very good chance that we hopefully will have a watershed and water sustainability plan for the Oksala next year, right? So I'm thinking that environmental education will be focused on watershed studies, that there will be a great opportunity there to partner up. Once that plan gets developed, it's still a lot of consultation, a lot of planning to go through. It's supposed to be in place hopefully within the next 2 years, so the timing I think is great. Just a comment for your awareness that that's coming for the Oksala or Coastal.
Yeah, so answering your question first, after spring break, we begin that process of consulting with school-based teams, which would include the larger Indigenous education team at the high schools, to start saying, let's look at all of the students and who do we think would benefit the most. And then what we've done in the past, we did a small program last year. We're looking at running something very small for some students this year who need to get outside and do something different. But sort of who might benefit the most, then we approach the students, and the students sort of buy in or they opt out, and we go from there. Yeah, it's a little bit different than your typical course selection, because we are trying to consider 18 each semester from all of our secondary schools, including CBOLC.
Trustee Thorne?
I see a lot of potential in this. It just kind of tells me that there's room for advancement that people don't know, such as what kind of flowers are used for medicine. What can you do with the stinging nettles? Why would one use a blue rock for a fire? There's so many things that are out there. How to use a maple tree with your, depending on your mood swing. There's so many things that we need to start looking at for the near future, beyond paddling or canoe. We've all done that. Beyond some of the things that they basically learn, like you have Tim up there. I know what he's talking about, but there's so many things beyond that. How far would you dig down to find water if standing on dry land like that? There's so many things.
And the kids are craving it, right? Like they're wanting it. And we also have a district committee for land-based learning that is a group of principals, and Allison from Mill Bay, soon to be maybe elementary school, or maybe Mill Bay Nature School is a part of that team. And we're looking at ways to engage students at all levels, so it's not just.
One of the key things is when everybody talks about cedar stripping, well, what about the roots? There's this particular length that you're allowed to take. How would you define how many meters you would take because of the damage you would do to that tree?
Yeah, so much potential for rich learning.
Trustee Croft?
I wonder if you can refresh me on how it looks when you have multi-grades in one setting. How do teachers sort of navigate that?
Yeah, you bet. So if I picked, well, for the environmental studies and the VC First People, they're all doing the grade 12 course. So whether they're in grade 10, 11, or 12, we build that in for them. With the physical education, they're all doing the same physical activities. And if you're in grade 10, you're simply getting the grade 10 credit, grade 11, the grade 11 credit, and grade 12, the grade 12 credit. Where it gets exciting is the English First Peoples. So what we would do is we would, thematic learning. So we would have a theme, and the theme could be something to do with, situating yourself in nature, and that could be a theme in English. And we would do similar assignments, but our learning standards would be specific to grade 10. So the curricular competencies in grade 10 are going to be met with the same assignment as the grade 11 and the grade 12, but we're looking at it through a grade 10 lens based on the learning standards for grade 10 and grade 11 and grade 12. And so a lot of our teachers in open learning will do that so that they can do a whole class lesson in, say, English, and they might all be looking at the same body of work, reading something similar or having a similar experience. And there could even be a very similar assignment. It's a different assessment lens depending on the outcomes and competencies for each grade level.
Follow up.
So when you're delivering, I'm just so curious about this. So when you're delivering, the kids have to know what standard they're writing to in their grade. Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's
Yeah.
part of the whole picture.
Yeah, so you're setting your learning intentions for the students. You're still doing all that really important work where you're establishing criteria, and you're doing that with the students. But you might be saying, okay, grade 10s for this one, we're going to take a little bit of a different tact, and you're going to do this. In grade 11s, this is your goal today. In grade 12s, you're gonna elevate your writing in this way based on this expectation and criteria. So it is a little bit more adjusting.
Yeah.
But we do that sometimes in our really small schools as well, because we just don't have enough students to make a single grade class.
Any other questions? Nicole, thank you for bringing this to us and how it's laid out. I can tell you that the kids have told this board throughout our term that this is something they wanted more of, and that sometimes conventional classrooms don't work. But it also gives me hope for all those kiddos that desperately need something that fits them so they can be successful. So thank you so much for the presentation today. And it gives us hope that, that what the kiddos have been asking for, they'll see we listened, and what parents have asked for, we've heard, and we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you. My hope is, I have no doubt that this program will run, and if it runs, it will be very successful. There's no doubt in my mind. We will find the right combination of adults and students to make it great, and then maybe in another year, they could be back here in front of you telling you all about how it's going.
Superintendent.
Thank you. Through your chair, I'd like to invite District Principal for Instruction and Innovation, K-12, Glenn Posey, to come forward and share with you about the high-tech learning program and updates. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Nice to everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about a high-tech framework. Last time we were together, I started with some interesting facts. So I'm going to do the same as it relates to what we're going to talk about tonight. So 1.7 million, 41K just in February, and 91,000. And so those relate to, that's the number of apps that are presently sitting in the Apple App Store. And comparatively, that's how many are sitting in the Google Play Store as well. In the month of February, there was about 41,000 new apps that were put in place, and about 91,000 of them generate revenue and earning for the developers that are developing them. And how that relates is, last time we spoke, we were looking at developing a high-tech framework with three pathways. One around app development, one around cybersecurity, and one around AI and big data, so that our tech-interested students had a way to get some micro-credentialing, get some pathways to post-secondary. The concept is that students would be embedded in the existing computer science classes, grades 10 to 12, and then they would be assigned an independent study, so an IDS course. And that would give them industry certification by doing that outside of class, somewhat supported by the teacher, but really supported by an outside expert consultant who's going to be a guide. And these programs are all pre-built to industry standards. So working with our teachers, the decision is for September 2026 is to really just take one strand as a first step, as a starting point. And that's to launch into the Swift app development. We've got experience out at Francis Kelsey. We've run the program there for about 4 years with very good success. And now we'd like to expand this to all of our schools. So the students would be part of a computer science programming course and then take the additional IDS hours. So they would really get a 4 credit for the computer science and then a 4 credit for taking this self-directed independent study. And at the end, they prepare to write an industry certification exam. So why coding? It's great for our kids to build these skills. If you're interacting with code nowadays, you're interacting with AI. So it's a bridge into understanding and learning about AI. The human context still matters. You hear a lot about AI just coding everything. That's not the case when you actually read the literature and what's happening in the marketplace. And vibe coding, as they call it, with an AI companion, is sort of the way we're doing things nowadays. And for all of us, we're interacting with code every day, so it strengthens our ability to understand what's going on around in our world. The process we went through to get there, we've held 3 meetings with our specialty teachers. We looked at how can we best organize this, and one of the big concerns was we don't want to have a split program where it's centralized somewhere. We want these kids embedded in our schools so we're not losing those tech-interested kids. And they wanted to make sure that we weren't competing, so it wasn't something new, that we could embed it in their existing program. So it's another offering. Many of our programs are offering 4 different strands are sitting in that classroom. So you might have coding, you might have graphic art, you might have computer repair. So it's just another additional option for our students. We also talked through, well, what are the barriers and what's going to attract our kids? And in the conversations they've had with students, game development is a real attractor for lots of our kids. So there'll be a game development aspect to this coding program. And they determined that as teachers, they needed release time and they needed some supports from outside experts. So we've got those pieces in the works. So these were the must-have components from those conversations. First of all, for the students, some dedicated equipment. It's a bit of a carrot for those kids to say, hey, you're coming for a semester, here's an assigned device that you get to work with. But also for the independent study aspect, for that equity piece, they have a device that they can take home, they can work with outside of class hours that's dedicated for the program. The other thing was pre-designed curriculum. So our teachers don't have the time or necessarily the expertise to build a brand new curriculum from scratch. So we needed to make sure that we had an industry designed curriculum that would lead to these certifications. I've already mentioned they wanted it to integrate with their existing program, and then the external expert and support. So where does that take us? That takes us to the students would be exposed to this Apple Developer Program, which is a professional industry program. And as they travel the IDS path, they'll have the option eventually at the end of the semester and about 120 hours of external study, they'll have an option to write one of these two certifications with a potential to loop back and try a second certification, or if they start in grade 10, they could stack these micro-credentials and get Apple certified, get security certified, and then get AI certified at an entry level. So there's a real path here for our tech-interested students. The other conversations that we've been having is to actually connect with developers. So it's a conversation I've had with my Apple contact of, can we have a real developer once in a while actually get onto a Teams call with these students, and somebody who's working as an Apple engineer. Lululemon, Canadian company, BC-based, big Apple development team. Could we get somebody from Lululemon to hop on and say, hey, did you ever think you'd be working in the fashion industry, but you're actually building apps? So we're trying to build that pipeline as well. So value to the students, this would be a way to get those tech-interested kids either lined up for post-secondary, to start stacking micro-credentials so that they're employable right out of grade 12 and could head off in that, because many are going not university, but are going that micro-credential path these days. And we think it'll be a real traction for our diverse learners who are tech interested. Many of them just love to spend hours and hours and are fantastic developers because of that. It gives us a pathway. So budget. This is a fairly low risk proposition. Number one, because the devices we need to buy already fit into our ecosystem. So should we have to collapse the program, change the program, we find we don't get enough interest, those resources would just flow back into our system and be usable without losing any value to us. If you look at the year one costs, you can see some zeros there. That's because at this point we're just finishing some conversations with the goal of having Apple Canada support us in both the outside expert consultant and exam vouchers in year one, and then we'll work on negotiating that going forward. So the IDS funding, that's what we would be able to recoup, and that's a low estimate for what we get funded for those students who would be taking that IDS 4 credits. So if we look at what it sort of nets out at costs, those are our estimated yearly costs to run the program for 5 years. And I always like to forecast over 5 years because it gives us a reality. It's not just a one and done and how do we do this next year? Here's what we're looking at committing to. As I've said, it's low risk. There's no contracts that we need to sign. If we're trying to get our students registered into the program and we find that there isn't enough interest or we get lower interest than anticipated, we don't have to buy the gear up front. We can buy it sort of at a reasonable time frame out. There's no contract signed for the outside trainer and expert. So there's really low risk to get this started. And so the ask really at the end of this is that the board supports the implementation and funding of the proposed framework with a goal of expanding future career opportunities for our technology interested students.
Thank you. Questions, trustees? So trustee Souza.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, certainly, conceptually, like on principle, I support the framework. I guess I have a question, a bit of a concern around the focus on Apple, right, and iPhones. Like, what about the sort of the other folks that use, like down the road, in terms of preparing students to support what's really one important part of the sector, but it is very focused on Apple and iPhones. What about Android and
Yeah, I think it fits our ecosystem of much of what we run right now. And once you learn one language, you can move to sort of your next and your next. So you can move to Python, you can move to Java, you can move to those other languages. So it's really a starting point, an introductory. It's not that Apple is the only thing. It's not. We know that there's a great big marketplace out there. And this is a stepping stone to what does the app development cycle look like, from conception to storyboard to I've built something to how do I connect it to a database, and then how do I get it into an app store. And that would be the hope, that the students would get introduced to that. And if iOS is not your interest, absolutely, you might be programming for Android, you might be programming for a Windows computer, but it would give you a starting point. It's really about the starting point. In a semester, we're not producing developers. We're giving them, this is your first taste of, here are the things, and here's an entry-level certification that you could start to build on. So yeah, I would never want this to be, if you ask me the question, can we do this with a different platform? 100%. We could pick, we're going to do this with Python, we're going to do, this is structured because we've got outside support, it fits our ecosystem, the devices we'd hand them would just go back into our system, after. So there's lots of cost benefits to going this way, and we have experience offering it at one of our schools. So now expanding this to the 4 schools, I think it's an easy step.
Yeah, thank you. That was very helpful. Thanks.
So trustee Lise and then trustee Doma.
So I'm anticipating that the students that go through this and get the certification, they are more likely to be accepted into computer sciences in the universities. Is this a leg up for them to be able to get in, coming in with some?
With some, potentially, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're doing a full computer science degree, we'd have to look at, there's going to be the advanced maths, the calculus, the other pieces that would need to be part of that. And not all kids that want to be developer, want to do that. But yes, I believe that this would give them that leg up, and they'd be going in, and hopefully some of those foundational conceptual theories and things they're talking about for building apps and code, they'd already have a good understanding.
And so we would likely be encouraging them to also take the other courses to supplement that, if they were so interested.
If they were so interested, like if they started in grade 10 with one, it would be fantastic. If one of our students comes out with all 3 of those eventually as we build this out and we find that there's success, it would really put them in a good stead and give them pathway choices.
Trustee Doma.
How's this going to work at the smaller schools like Couch and Chemainus and Seavolk?
So Chemainus, they feel they've got capacity to fit it into their existing computer science class, and there's lots of different courses running in these blocks already. So talking with Alex there, he doesn't see much of a problem, and we have a sponsor teacher out at Lake Cowichan who says she's got 3 kids that are she sort of hinted, just chomping at the bit to find out more. And that they will have to figure out a block of time. They don't have a formal computer science class, so they're going to have to figure out how they're going to support these kids. And it will probably look like more of an IDS for those students rather than a stacked at Lake Cowichan. But the others, they have space, and they want to grow the number of students sitting in those classes, and this is the way to do it.
What about Seavolk?
And Seavolk, that's a great question. And Seavolk, it would have to be either an IDS model there, Or we could also look at, is there an opportunity to bring them down to QSS for some engagement? We've had some initial, but I don't have any direct contact right now with a specific teacher at Seabolt for doing that. But we've got some students there where that would make a lot of sense.
Any other questions, trustees? Is there a question?
No, I think for clarification, IDS, Independent Directed Study, for
Yes.
anybody who's watching.
Yes, independent directed study, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Posey, for your presentation. It's exciting that between our announcement and presentation from Nicole Boucher and from yourself, we're definitely surrounding different groups of kids in every move that's happening. So thank you very much for your presentation. 8.2.3.
Thank you. Again, through you, Chair, information regarding kindergarten registration at Caston Schools is taking place between January 26th and 30th. This district's projection for 2026-2027 kindergarten registration is 492 students, with 365 registrations to date, and 13 out-of-catchment requests received to date as well. Quick update there. Next item here is regarding district scholarship presentations, and there is an attachment in your package, page 37. This year, the district has been allocated 68 district authority scholarships, down from 76 last year. Attached on page 37 of the agenda package is a memo from the Assistant Superintendent, Jeff Rowan, inviting trustees to be a guest judge at our secondary school district scholarship presentations. Judging this year may again differ between schools, as this allows schools to use a process that works for specific students. Presentations will take place during the week of May 4th through 7th, and the schedule is being finalized. Trustees are invited to join district and school staff as judges. Please advise by March 31st if you're interested in participating in judging this year and which secondary schools you're most interested in participating in. Thank you for that. Superintendent's update. We have a few acknowledgements. I would like to acknowledge the Cowichan Valley Teachers Federation, Cowichan Valley Principals and Vice Principals Association, and CUPE for organizing and holding their professional development on February 13th. Professional development, a lot of great learning that was taking place. Also, a big thank you to our transportation staff. And on the afternoon of February 17th, some of our South End buses needed to be rerouted to the closest school due to unexpected increase of snow and a flash freeze. And our South End bus drivers did a great job transporting students safely that afternoon. I'd like to acknowledge also Jen Calperley, principal at George Bonner Elementary, for receiving students at her school, and Danny Morrow, principal at Discovery Elementary, for attending to her students and contacting parents to get students home safely. I also wish to acknowledge Kevin Vanderlinden and Penny Butler, principal and vice principal at Francis Kelsey Secondary, for doing a great job receiving students at their school until they could be picked up. And again, huge thank you to the parents and guardians for the flexibility in helping to deal with this situation. So great work in ensuring safety for our students there. I used some photos coming up here. You'll see them up on the screen. Youth Trades Awards. And our very own Assistant Superintendent, Jeff Rowan, managed to get into one of these photos here. Last month, our Careers Department was very proud to hand out $1,000 checks to 35 recipients of the Youth Work in Trades Youth Apprenticeship Award on behalf of the Ministry of Education and Childcare and Skilled Trades BC. The award is intended to help apprentices continue in the trade through a partial payment of tuition or purchase of tools and supplies. To be eligible for this award, students must have registered with Skilled Trades BC as a youth apprentice, graduated with a grade 12 dogwood diploma or adult dogwood, and completed 4 work and trades courses, completed and maintained a C+ average or better in grade 12 numbered courses, and worked a total of at least 900 hours as an apprentice in trades. So congratulations to those students we see in the photos here. Early learning update. We have 2 brochures. First one is sharing images of these brochures that are submitted to families or shared with families. First brochure is titled On My Way to Kindergarten, and it's out in circulation now. And the second is the newest Strong Start brochure. On March 3rd, we'll be hosting a meeting with all elementary principals, vice principals, and kindergarten teachers to begin the planning phase of school-based Ready, Set, Learn events, and more information will be provided about the events once the team has come together for planning. Thank you to those organizers. Next group of photos here is from École Cobble Hill and Carnival Week. Children and parents, staff at École Cobble Hill celebrated Carnival Week February 18th to the 21st. And in quotations here, Carnival is another of many ways to share French culture and give our students some understanding of the French culture in a very immersive way. And congratulations again for the great work that's happening in supporting our students in the French programs. Next group of photos here, Cohiman Elementary Elders Weekly Visits. Throughout February, Cohiman Elementary invited a group of elders to the school, and they participated in the school's Elders Corner, an area created at the front of the school to resemble a living room of sorts. I cannot pronounce this, but student leaders greeted elders at their vehicles, walked them into the school, served them refreshments, and the elders then gathered to knit, and groups of children came to spend time with them, taking in their knowledge and to knit alongside them. The weekly visits were well received by the children, and they looked forward to having the elders in their school. Sepka to Darlene Sylvester, Arlene Valencia, Joanne Hopkins, and Bobby Gabriel for their contributions. So thank you so much for that. Next event here with photos is from Chemainus Elementary and the Pies Feast at Penelakut Island. So the Chemainus Elementary Penelakut students in grades 4 through 6 went to Penelakut Island Elementary School. So that's where Pies comes in. First annual event to enjoy some songs, dances, and meals with the Penelakut Smidam. Vice Principal Rhonda Rose and Indigenous support worker Mark Thomas took students over for the day. And before the activities began, some students walked Ms. Rose and Mr. Thomas over to some of the outdoor learning spaces as a tour. Everyone had an amazing day and we're so appreciative of the opportunity to participate. And I just want to recognize as well that Principal Michelle Bradley is here with us this evening from Chemainus Elementary. Chemainus Secondary, historical showcase, wrestling and basketball. And there's photos here for these events. This term, the Chemainus Secondary grade 7 students participated with the Chemainus Valley Historical Society and the Chemainus Valley Museum to explore the history of Japanese internment in British Columbia and its impact on our local community. After participating in the historical walking tour of Chemainus and engaging in in-depth classroom learning, students created meaningful projects to showcase their understanding, many of which will be selected for an upcoming display at the museum. Congratulations to grade 7 students and their teacher, Jordan Wilson, for giving such an impactful learning experience. Also within these photos, Ben Coate represented Chemainus Secondary School Cougars February 20th to 22nd at the BC Secondary School Sport Wrestling Championship. Ben came away with a 3-1 record to earn a bronze medal in the 45 kilogram boys weight class. And congratulations to Ben for winning the provincial bronze medal. That's very exciting. Also sharing a couple of photos from Chemaina Secondary boys basketball team. The first is grade 7 and 8 boys with the Cowichan Capitals game on February 24th. Coach Graham Arkell is along with them, and this highlights the season included a win versus Penelakut, a strong effort versus the Cowichan Capitals, and a move up with their star players into the junior boys basketball team. Everyone's eager to continue growing their skills during open gym, at lunch, and drop-in basketball after school on Fridays. Next photo here is with the Chemaina Secondary School senior boys basketball team. The team came first place in the South Islands and wrapped up their season with the Island Championships in February. The boys improved greatly as basketball players and teammates. They're hungry to continue improving this spring and summer to qualify for the provincial championships next year. And thank you to coaches Casey Parsons and assistants Graham Arkell and Mitch Nippelberg. The Chemaina Secondary Junior Boys basketball team overcame a ton of adversity this season and finished with an overall record of 5-4. And again, thanks to Coach Graham Arkell, and special thanks to Darian, who assisted with coaching and scorekeeping. Next group of photos here is from Cowichan Secondary, Black History Month, Nourish Cowichan, and Find Your Fit career event. So sharing some photos from Cowichan Secondary, whole school assembly, kicking off Black History Month with visuals around the school. Nourish Cowichan staff and volunteers in the servery at the lunch with the happy staff and a student. I love the OK sign that the students giving there. And also Work BC Find Your Fit Career Fair for grade 10s held in the Cowichan Secondary atrium in February. And great use of the school that we see there. So the next, I'll just wait a second. Next group of photos that we're looking at here are from Pink Shirt Day. Wednesday, February 25th was Pink Shirt and Anti-Bullying Day this year. Photos are being shared from Alexander Elementary, Colcolo Hill, Chemainus Elementary, Crofton Elementary, and Cowichan Secondary, as well as Chemainus Secondary. So Alexander Elementary shares some messages around kindness written by school in the school courtyard by Alexander Smanem following their Pink Shirt Day assembly. Colcolo Hill recognized Pink Shirt Day with learning focused on kindness, friendship skills, and standing up against bullying. Chemainus Elementary students from Mr. Armstrong's class created kindness posters on Pink Shirt Day. To celebrate Pink Shirt Day, they took part in a kindness activity where each student created their own poster. Classmates went around the room anonymously writing kind messages and words of affirmation on their page. Crofton Elementary shares pictures of their Pink Shirt Day events. And a group from the Chemainus Theater was also at the school on Pink Shirt Day to do activities with the grade 4-5 class. Cowichan Secondary School held Kindness Week and Pink Shirt Day awareness activities at lunch. And Chemainus Secondary School proudly celebrated Pink Shirt Day 2026 with a powerful display of unity, compassion, and school spirit. Francis Kelsey Secondary School, not featured in the photos, but the events that were held there. So Francis Kelsey Secondary had Compassion Week with Wednesdays as Pink Shirt Day. On Friday, the whole school did a coldest night of the year walk to recognize the unhoused population in the community. Ryan Hogg from Francis Kelsey competed in the Provincial Wrestling Championships, as well as other events that were taking place. And Connor Wallace from Francis Kelsey is competing in judo at the BC Winter Games. So congratulations to those students. School performance at the Cowichan Music Festival. This year we had some of our schools and choirs and bands participating in the 77th annual Cowichan Music Festival held at the Cowichan Performing Arts Center. And there were school choirs from Drinkwater, Bench, and Tanzer, and school bands from Quamachin and Cowichan Secondary. So congratulations to all those students. March 8th, 2026 marks International Women's Day. It's a global day of celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also raises awareness of the progress made towards achieving gender equality and the work remaining to be done. Two themes for this day. The Government of Canada's theme is International Women's Day 2026 is Give to Gain. This year's theme highlights the importance of taking meaningful steps to advance gender equality. And the United Nations observes the International Women's Day 2026 under the theme of Rights, Justice, Action for All Women and Girls. I'm just going to highlight the Education Assistant Bridge Program, or the EA Bridge Program, for March 2026. From March 2nd, so yesterday, to March 20th, school district is running an Education Assistant Bridge Program, an intensive hands-on training opportunity designed to prepare participants for the employment as educational assistants with the Cowichan Valley School District. More than 60 people attended the information sessions, and 34 people completed full applications. And of these, 13 people qualified for the first bridge program. And I just want to recognize the president from CUPE, for Adam. Thank you for being there as well with this group. I think they had a lot of interest and a lot of staff showing up to welcome them and encourage them on their way here. So some people have been placed on a wait list for the next opportunity due to scheduling conflicts, and some need to participate in a more fulsome training as they have not had the opportunity to attend post-secondary or work directly with students and youth. But it's very exciting to see these initiatives taking place in our school district. I'm going to move on to CUPE Learning Opportunities, Spring Break 2026. The Service Improvement Committee has set out learning opportunities that will be available this spring for the current CUPE members. Participants are paid for their time as set out through the Service Improvement Allocation Agreement. During spring break, there's going to be one-day training, introduction to supporting students with physical needs in the classroom. That's Monday, March 16th. There's a 3-day training, understanding and supporting priority learners, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, March 17th to 19th. And 1-day training empowering students through accessible technology. That's Friday, March 20th. So all during spring break, and great initiatives there. There is out-of-province student travel that's been approved. For board information, the following out-of-province travel has been approved. International student program to the Rocky Mountain trip, March 16th to 19th, 2026. And also a reminder of upcoming out-of-country trip previously approved by the Board of Education, Cowichan Secondary School educational trip to Amsterdam, Belgium, France, and London, March 16th to 26th, 2026. As well, for the Principal, Vice Principal Pro-D, which was again February 13th. The session featured keynote Peter Johnston. The theme was multipliers, and this translates to using smarts of people around you to improve the whole school community, and a great event for the principals and vice principals in terms of their learning. CUPE Pro-D, the CUPE Professional Development event, held February 13th at Cowichan Secondary School. CUPE staff are participating in the full-day sessions gathered at the Salmona Gathering Place for a keynote presentation by Fred Rowland who spoke on the history of the Cowichan Tribe's emblem and shared local knowledge and stories. And following the keynote, participants proceeded to the scheduled workshop sessions. So again, great work in terms of learning for CUPE staff members. Upcoming meetings, all superintendents meetings, Darlene Reynolds, Assistant Superintendent, will attend in my place for the all superintendents meeting held on March 6th, as I will be returning from Richmond to come back for the Vista event. And the Vista event, again, is being held March 6th and 7th at Cowichan Secondary School with the Cowichan Valley Board of Education, as well as the Gulf Islands Board of Education co-hosting Vancouver Island School Trustees Association Spring Conference here in the Cowichan Valley. Long Service Tea Recognition is being held March 12th at Cowichan Secondary Solomon Gathering Place to recognize the significant work milestones of 25, 30, and 35 years of service for employees. So looking forward to that. School visits since the September board meeting. Cowichan Secondary School, February 4th, day of principals and vice principals meetings, and Cowichan Secondary School, February 9th, Youth Health Center meeting along with Secretary Treasurer. And there's a schedule of events in your kit, your forward package, on page 38 for upcoming superintendent school and classroom visits. It's in draft right now because there are a couple of adjustments that need to be made depending on previously scheduled events within schools. So that's that portion for board information.
Thank you,
Chair.
Superintendent. For board action.
Yes, thank you. For board action, again, regarding the Chemainus and Crofton grade 7s and the consultation process attached on page 39 to 41. Your agenda package is a briefing note for discussion and possible action regarding the suitability of reconfiguring Chemainus and Crofton elementary schools to grade 7, kindergarten to grade 7 grade structure. Recommendations are presented for the board's consideration, and the board may choose if they do not wish to move forward with the grade configuration at this time, then no action is required. And if the board wishes to implement a grade reconfiguration, the following motions may be considered. And maybe I'll turn that to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Trustees, let's have a discussion. Where are we at? Trustee Sousa.
Thank you. It's just, as you know, the briefing note indicates it's not a matter of if, but when, and I certainly support moving forward with this. And I actually propose a motion that we move forward and that we go with option B as well.
Option B, effective 2027.
Yeah.
Trustee Lizzie.
I also agree. It was a really great process that we got to be a part of for making this decision and connecting with parents and our partners and even hearing from the students as well. And so it is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I agree with going with with Plan B. And my reasoning behind that is it gives time for us to find out what's going to happen this year with enrollment, and also to give the students who are there an opportunity to know what's coming down the road. And yeah, it was just a really great process.
Trustee Dillon.
When I went through this and listening to parents, it was, if you're gonna do it now. So my preference would be option A, to do it for September, and even this is probably going to be best to do it sooner rather than later.
For myself, and in attendance to those meetings, I too was leaning to option A. If we're going to do it, rip the Band-Aid off and do it. So I'm leaning towards option A myself. Any trustees that haven't spoken want to speak and tell us where you're at? Trustee Croft?
I know staff clearly from this don't really want to make a recommendation as to which year to do it in, but if anybody has any thoughts, I would be really glad to receive them at this point.
Superintendent?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I would say that certainly through the consultation process and having read through the packages as well, I think move to having grade 7s return to Chemainus Elementary and Crofton Elementary is the majority wish. And I would say I heard very loudly, so again, it's a board decision, but September 2026, I think I heard a lot of people saying just move forward if you're going to do it. Do it sooner than later. So.
Trustee Croft?
So can I move that we do it in 20, or do we have another one on the table?
I think you have a motion and a seconder on option B right now. And you're having
I
discussion
haven't,
on-
no, I'm having a discussion. I have not asked for,
We had a mover.
no, we're walking around. Mr. Sandquist? Mr. Sandquist?
I think he moved
He
it.
moved it. And
He did not move it. He said he was leaning towards option B.
I actually moved it, but I might have been out of order. And
Yes, we were having a conversation, Mr. Sandquist.
All right.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Trustee Kraft?
Can I move it at this point?
Can we hear from everybody first?
Okay, then I,
Trustee Thorne, do you have an opinion?
I agree with it. I think, you'll have to excuse me, I had a tuna sandwich before I came here today and now I'm regretting it. But yeah, I think it's okay. I don't know if I completely understand it, but I do like what I heard.
Option A or option B? Do it for September 2026 or September 2027? Okay. Trustee
I
Strickland?
was leaning more towards that larger voice, which I felt by reading the material, I could not make those sessions, but in reading, I was leaning towards A.
Trustee Kraft, I believe you wanted to move a motion.
yes, it's okay.
Option A or
Yes.
option B?
Yes, that the reconfiguration go ahead for this fall.
All right, that the Board of Education of School District 79, Couch Valley, reconfigure Chemainus Elementary School and Crofton Elementary School from K to 6 to K to 7, effective September 2026.
So moved.
Seconded by Trustee Doman. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you, everybody. Secretary Treasurer.
I have no report this evening.
Oh,
Thank
you
you.
don't, that's right. It's kind of weird. Superintendent, and highlights from the February 11th, 2026 Indigenous Education Council meeting.
Thank you. Again, through you, Chair. The Homework Mistimic Education Council highlights from the February 11th. Nicole Bouchier, District Principal for Priority Learners, acknowledged the territory. Dolly Sylvester, District Elder, and Mary Peter, District Principal for Indigenous Education, welcomed council members and guests to the lands in a good way. The minutes from the January 14th meeting were approved and amended. 2 items were added to the agenda, busing costs and big house discussion. Hannah Morales, the coordinator for Indigenous Student Success, shared a presentation with the council members. Jason Sandquist, Secretary Treasurer, spoke to the 2026-2027 annual budget process. Mary Peter, District Principal for Indigenous Education, spoke to the 2026-2027 NED budget. Council members adopted and amended terms of reference. Busing costs for the activities were discussed at the table. Student attendance in relation to the big house was also discussed by the council. And future meeting dates have been set for March 4th, April 1st, and May 6th, from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock at Cowliston Secondary School Boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings and events. Do you see anything, trustees, that should be added in there that is not? Hearing nothing, correspondence, nothing, new business, nothing. Question period. The gallery has walked out. However, anybody that is online, if you would like to take a moment to ask a question on our online platform that is related to the agenda spoken tonight, we will wait to see if you have any questions. Mr. Secretary Treasurer?
Alicia Blackburn, Cowichan Valley DPAC, notes that because the screen was on the share screen, she wasn't able to see the results of the vote. And the overall confirmations, I think just to confirm that it was a unanimous decision.
For Crofton Elementary, Crofton Schmidt?
Crofton.
Yes, that was a unanimous decision.
Not yet.
Hearing no other, motion to adjourn. Moved by trustee Sousa, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Thank you, folks. How about if we take 3 minutes and we'll move back in